So I've been playing around with different builds in Destiny 2 and I want to show you one of my favourites that's really been working out for me. And this is the Grenade Melee Stasis build. You don't have to use Stasis, you can use any other subclass, but using Stasis is a bonus. I've not tested this build on any other classes yet, so this build is specifically for the Titan. Stay tuned. Before we look at the build setup, let's just first take a look at what the build is. So this is a Titan Grenade and Melee Stasis build set up for SMGs, shotguns and swords, which pretty much lets you run around feeling nearly indestructible, making it a hard time for adds to kill you. But the main feature of this build is to use wall grenades and shatter damage almost every 5 to 15 seconds as your main weapon for ad clearing. I've not really looked at any other builds out there, so there may be ones that are better than this, but I personally really enjoy using this build and it's what I always use. How this build works is you throw a wall grenade, shatter the wall, killing pretty much everything nearby, and repeat. Because of how the build is set up, you shouldn't have an issue getting another grenade, so let's take a look at the build setup. The melee that we're using is the Shiver Strike, and the grenade that you want to use is the Glacier Grenade. But for the two aspects you want to use Cryoclasm. This is what makes the build so powerful as you always slide into your crystals. In the second aspect slot we're using a new one that was introduced in Season of the Chosen, and that is the Howl of the Storm. When sliding, activate your charged melee ability to launch a wave of stasis energy forward that freezes targets and creates stasis crystals. I use this on bosses or tougher enemies while sliding into my own stasis walls. And I have to say this is actually pretty funny because you're first throwing a grenade at the enemy, that enemy then freezes and you slide into the crystal, but at the same time using your melee ability, freezing him again, and by the time that enemy is unfrozen, he's already frozen again with your second grenade. By that point you'll probably have your first grenade and melee back to refreeze, and it's just a constant loop. Moving on to fragments. There's a few to choose from, but my favourites are Whisper of Torment. Now I don't know why this is even a thing, but this is what really makes the build so good because you're almost taking damage or fighting. Especially when you're always in that close range combat with a sword, you'll always be recharging your grenade from that 53-second mark down to almost half that. The next fragment though is this one here. Increase the damage and size of the burst of stasis, and your final fragment you'll want is Whisper of Shards. Shattering stasis crystals temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate, and shattering additional ones increases the duration. So you can probably see where we're going with this already. We're turning out recharge rate to become much quicker. Now back to the character screen. Firstly, you want to make sure you have 100 discipline, and make sure you're using a submachine gun, shotgun and sword, because we're in that close range build that wants to be right up in their face. So now down for your first class item, you want to go for Passive Guard, because this thing is really overpowered, at least what I remember from previous seasons. Now I haven't unlocked this yet, but once I do, that is what I'll be using here, as it makes you harder to kill when using a sword. The next mod you want on is the Elemental Ordnance. Defeating combatants with a grenade spawns an elemental well that matches your subclass energy type, and picking up that well will grant you energy to all your abilities. For the boots, I went with Lucent Blade. While charged with light, dealing damage with a sword gives you bonus sword damage for 5 seconds. It's always good to have that extra DPS because our sword is our main DPS weapon here. But the next mod I went with here is the Absolution. Reduces all ability cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. And for the chest armor we're using the exotic Armentarium. That is for the double grenades. And the Swift Charge mod so that we can become charged with light with rapid SMG kills and melee damage resistance to reduce the damage at point blank range. We've also got sword reserves for more ammo, but moving on to the gauntlets, we have Quick Charge, so that we can become charged with light with rapid shotgun kills, and increase the ready speed of all three for SMG, shotgun and sword, with a submachine gun loader for faster reload. Oh, and by the way, I recommend this SMG here as it can come with really good rules and feels similar to the Recluse, so if you want to see my video on this SMG with its potential rules and god rules, then I'll leave a link in the description and a card on screen to that video. But next we have the Momentum Transfer, where causing damage with your grenade reduces your melee cooldown. This is because we're always going to be causing damage with our grenade, so that should help equal out the recharge rate for your melee. Finally with the helmet I'm going with Heavy Handed, which allows you to regain half of your melee energy when using a charged melee ability. Although for some reason this doesn't seem to work for me, but the main reason of using this mod is for its secondary perk, which adds ammo to reserves for the shotgun. This is because we're always going to be around adds at close range, so this should essentially make you have unlimited shotgun ammo. Then we have Sword Ammo Finder. Now looking at what this is actually going to give us. So we're running into a bunch of adds and bosses. We get a few rapid kills with our SMG and shotgun, automatically getting our ammo back because we're surrounded by adds, making us charge with light, then gaining the ability to use our sword on a boss for bonus damage with Lucent Blade, but we have Passive Guard and melee damage resistance, and guarding with a sword to gain a ridiculous amount of total damage resistance. We're spamming grenades and sliding into stasis crystals while using our melee ability, picking up orbs and wells around us. all of which has given us a huge amount of ability regeneration. So to me, I think this build is really good and I really enjoy using it. And if you take this build into a playlist that uses Grenadier or Stasis modifier, then you're absolutely just gonna destroy. Because I'm not kidding, you'll literally have your grenade back in seconds, if not instantly. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this build and any other builds you like, but that is it for this video. Do let me know what you guys think, and of course, subscribe if you want to see more like this, but for now, take care, and I'll see you all in the next video.